Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you happen to be new here. And if you are new here, my name is Ashley, and today I have a story that I have been waiting to share with you guys. I've been asking you on Instagram if you want to hear this story, and I was going to tell it on Friday the 13th, but I was out of town. So this is my paranormal story, the only paranormal story that I do have. But you guys can take away from the story what you will, whether you think it's a coincidence, whether you think it's an actual paranormal story, whether you think it's a crock of shit. I don't care. It is October and I am here to spook you guys. So if you are ready, just stay tuned and we'll get started. I really hate my makeup today, but it's already 5:30 and the sun's gonna go down, so I can't redo it. I'm just really horrible at cut creases, and I'm practicing, okay? I'm practicing. Give me some points. I'll take some points. So this story is set back in 2015. This happens just when I was meeting Marcel, when I was still living at my parents' house. So this also happens around the time where I was just about 1 or 2 months clean from my drug addiction. And if you guys want to know more about that, there's a couple videos previous. I will leave them linked down below. But in 2011, my very close person in my life to me, my Uncle Bob, passed away. I won't get into that, but if you guys are a little bit, curious, he did kill himself. This is really hard for me to talk about because he was convicted on child pornography charges. Now, luckily for me, in that case, he was not interested in females, but I'm not making this situation, like, I'm not trying to cushion it or make it any better. It was a bad situation. But regardless of all that, I didn't know what was going on, and he was my best friend. He was my godfather, and him and I spent all the time in the world together. That was just a part of his life that he kept to himself. So if you guys want to hear more about that, I will make a completely different story time on that, but this story has to do with me feeling his presence after he passed. So once my Uncle Bob passed away, I didn't really know what to do with myself. This is back in 2012. So about 4 months after he passed, I met my ex, and I took the first out that I could, and I left. I left my family, I left everything, and I moved away. When I met Marcel, I came back home. So I was staying in my old bedroom, and my parents at the time, they still don't, but they didn't have internet. And, for a long period of my life, I had no internet whatsoever. But also at this time, I had Spotify Premium, which allowed me to listen to my music offline. Music that I had downloaded myself. I know this is getting a little bit jumbly, but I don't really, I've never told these stories before. I've never said this stuff out loud, so it's a little bit hard for me to talk about. But my Uncle Bob and I, we shared one thing that we loved together more than anything in the world, and that was Pink Floyd. I have a really hard time listening to Pink Floyd now because of the loss that I, went through, but The Wall, the movie, was one of the things that he was most excited to show me when I became old enough to realize, what the movie was about, and when I was mature enough to watch it. So like I mentioned, I had Spotify Premium at the time, and the music that I downloaded I could listen to offline. So fast forward back to 2015, this is what I'm talking about now. I'm sitting in my parents' bedroom. No, I'm sitting in my bedroom at my parents' house. I'm sorry, that just sounded weird. And I'm sitting on the foot of my bed. And this is a point in time in my life where I was figuring out myself and figuring out what I'm gonna do, This is before I started YouTube. This is before I did anything, before I really found out that I love myself. And in a way, I think that my uncle's presence is always with me because I have a lot of his stuff. It was in my old bedroom. All of his old CDs and posters and movies and clothing and everything was in my old bedroom. And I still have a lot of it in my new apartment, but I always kept his stuff with me. So one afternoon, I was sitting there. I'm really sorry if these dates and times are so jumbled. I'm so apologize. Like I feel so bad because I don't want this to come off as a bad story. So this would have been in about September 2015. This is before I went to go see The Wall playing in theaters. The end of September 2015, I got the privilege to go and watch Roger Waters take down The Wall in concert on the big screen in theaters, and I knew that he would have loved to see that, but besides the point. Late September, I was sitting on the foot of my bed, and I was just going through a lot of shit, and I just remember sitting there crying my eyes out, just crying because, you know, I was in a really bad relationship, and I found someone that I loved, and I didn't know how to get away, and I didn't know how to start over, and I didn't know what to do. I had just, you know, started to start over again after a drug addiction. This is before I had cancer. So I was in a pretty rough spot. So I'm sitting at the foot of my bed, like I've said 6 times now, and I just feel a presence in the room. Not a negative presence or anything, like a comforting presence. My parents weren't home, you know, and at this time Marcel was living in our old apartment next door. Our apartments were like this, one next to each other. So this is really, really hard for me to talk about. So my Uncle Bob had a nickname for me, and my whole life he always called me Rue. I've been told it's because I loved Winnie the Pooh when I was a kid and I loved Rue, but I've also been told that I loved the Golden Girls when I was growing up, and Rue McClanahan played Blanche, my favorite character. So Rue was my nickname, and I remember sitting there on the foot of the bed and just feeling like some weight shift behind me. And keep in mind that I was home alone, and it felt like someone was sitting on my bed with me. And I just heard a whisper just say, "Oh, Rue." Like I can't, it sounds so stupid to say in real life, but it was like he wanted to tell me that, you know, he's seen me go through all this, and he's here with me to let me know that I'm okay. So here's the kicker. Here's the actual paranormal of it all. Like I said, you can think that this is a coincidence, you can think that this is a crock of shit, but if you have seen the movie The Wall, Pink Floyd The Wall, you know that the beginning song that is played before In the Flesh is When the Tigers Broke Free. And that is not from the movie The Wall, that is not from the Wall album. That comes after The Wall. That comes from the album The Final Cut. I had to think of that for a second. It comes on the album The Final Cut, but it plays in the movie. So keep in mind, I don't have internet, I don't have this downloaded on my phone, but as I hear someone say to me, "Oh, Rue," When the Tigers Broke Free from The Final Cut starts playing, it was kind of like he was telling me, you're free. You have no Really? I'll cut Dad's hair when I'm done. Okay, sorry, my mom called for dinner. It was kind of like he was telling me, like, this is a new chapter in your life and you need to forget about what was going on and you need to just move the fuck on and forget about what is, you know, making you sad and making you feel this way. So after that happened, you know, I didn't know what to do, because that was the first time that I have goosebumps so bad right now. That was the first time that I had ever experienced something paranormal from the grave. So I ran out of my bedroom, I ran out of my apartment, I took the elevator right down, and I ran right over to Marcel's house, and I just went right into his arms and I cried. And I didn't even have to tell him what was going on. He said, "You felt something, didn't you?" So from then on, I don't know what to think about that. It's been 2 years, and I think about that event every day of my life. I try to comprehend what happened. I try to make sense of it all. I just don't understand how an album that I don't have downloaded with no internet starts playing out of the blue. I don't understand, but maybe it was a sign, and maybe it was him telling me, move the fuck on. And clearly I did, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now doing this. So if you are watching me, Uncle Bob, I really hope that you are proud of me and you see the accomplishments that I have in my life and you come visit me again to say hi. So that is my paranormal story. If you guys want to hear more about my Uncle Bob and all of that crap, I would be happy to make a story about that because I have never actually talked about it to anybody other than people that are close to me in my life, and I feel like it would be good therapy to get it out. So definitely leave a comment down below if you want to hear more about that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and for listening to me ramble on for a little bit about a paranormal event that happened to me. Like I said, you can take this as whatever you will, as a coincidence, as a paranormal event, or as a crock of shit. So I hope that you guys are enjoying the month of October and feeling very spooky, and I will see you guys in my next video. Sayonara, suckers!